What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Mount MoGraph. As always, my name's Matt, and in today's video we have Summit 70, a second part of Track Comp Win, which was a series I meant to start and never got around to it. So basically, in today's video, we are going to be taking some bad, horrific footage and tracking some cool content onto the screen. So here is just a quick video that I shot. I purposely made it as bad as I could, meaning I was out of focus, I was shaking, I was moving around, I had the content off the screen at some point, I was waving my hands over it, really blurry, and I was touching the screen. So somehow, with all that, we are going to go ahead and use Mocha, and what we're going to do is actually track some content onto the screen. So with all the stuff that we've going on in the background, all the blur, all the hands, and all that, we're going to go ahead and really nail putting some content on the screen in a realistic way, so compositing. So basically, if you want to shoot your own footage, you can go ahead and do that, or somewhere in the video description I've added a link to download this bad footage so you can follow along if you like. If you're going to shoot your own footage, what I recommend doing is downloading a green picture or making a green picture or color or anything, saving it to your photos and zooming in as much as you can. So if you touch the screen by accident, it won't like move over or anything because you're so zoomed in. So that's just a quick little tip if you're going to be keying something like we are. So basically, once we have this loaded in our timeline, I like to scrub forward if it's not footage I shot and just see what's happening first. So as you can see, I have the hand going over the screen, and this just kind of sets us up for taking it into Mocha and seeing what we actually have to mask out to start. So in order to open Mocha, what you do is you select your footage in your composition, go up to animation and down to track in Mocha AE. So it's going to open up over here. Just give it a second, and there we go. So I'm going to say okay and just save it. Normally you'd want to check your settings there. I totally breezed over that. But anyway, if you've never used Mocha, it is super user friendly and really fun to use. So the buttons are a little bit different, and you honestly need to know two shortcut buttons to just nail using Mocha. Basically, the first one is Z. If you hold it and click with your mouse and hold down your mouse and zoom in and out, that is zoom in and out. And if you want to move around, you hold X and move around. So that's pretty much all you need to know, the quick and dirty, in order to use Mocha. I'm just going to go ahead and save it real quick. And so what we're going to do is Mocha works similar to how After Effects Alpha Mats work. So we want to originally track out the footage that we don't want our actual track to take. So if that makes any sense at all, basically we want to get rid of our hands first. In order to do that, we need to track them, and then we're going to go ahead and like subtract that track from the track we want for our screen, as crazy as that sounds. So whatever your content you're taking out of your track, try to find a part where it is mostly on screen. So for me, it looks like it's going to be right around here at frame 181. So let's go up here and grab this tool, and this is going to create a spline. So let's go ahead and just real quick and dirty roughly get the shape of the object that we are trying to mask out, and then just right click on your mouse to kind of set that spline. And I'm going to go ahead and name this hand remove or something like that. So the cool thing about Mocha is you can actually go forward or backward to track. So what we're going to start with is actually tracking backwards. And let's just see how this goes. What we're first going to do is actually set our pixel value right down here. So the percentage of the pixels we're going to use inside of this spline to 90%, just so we have more calculations, but hopefully more accurate with all the blur and stuff we have going on. You can mess around with this and just see what values work for you. Typically I've heard that you want to do 90%. So let me go ahead and just track backwards and let's see what we get. If it ever seems to be going off your spline, as you can see my finger has popped out, we can just drag back in our timeline. And the cool thing is with Mocha that you can always go back and just retrack over your pre-existing track. So what I mean is I'm going to adjust some little vertices on this spline and just track backwards by one frame clicking this. So for the stuff that you're having trouble with, like I was right there, I like to just do one frame at a time and really make sure that I'm staying on the object I'm trying to mask out. So in this case, it now seems to be doing better just by moving that one vertice. So let's go ahead And well, actually, I was going to say let's go ahead and just let it run normal, but it looks like I have once again lost my finger. So what I'm going to do is go back on my timeline, just scrubbing like this, and track backward 1 frame, track 1 more, and as you can see, we have now lost our finger. So you can actually mouse over this outline right here and just adjust your track like that and change all of them at once, and then I'll adjust a little bit more and we'll track backwards 1 frame. So now I'm really having some trouble, so we're gonna probably have to do a little bit more here. So adjust this one, and I'm gonna actually try to get a little bit closer. And just for this first part, there's a bit of a setup to get this effect to work, but I hope you pick up a couple little tricks along the way, and I promise this whole video is not going to be so tedious. I promise I'll fast forward where I can for the stuff that I'm just waiting for the computer to process. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and see if this starts to pick up better, and it actually is not. So we're just going to go ahead and work through this. I promise it's worth it if you can just stick through this boring part right now. Maybe a mouse up here and just set this. It's really important to get this these pixels, these blurry pixels, and get them all inside of the spline, just so they're totally not part of our real track. And then once these are out of there, our track will go way, way better. So we're doing pretty good here. I'm going to maybe tighten that spline up. I'm sure if you're a big time Mocha user, you're probably laughing at how terrible I am at Mocha, but the cool part about that is that, you know, even with my not great knowledge of Mocha, I've been able to do a lot of compositing and stuff for my job. So I think it's really easy to use. I'm sure I've only like scratched the surface of what you can actually do with it, but I mean, even with that much knowledge, I feel like, you know, it's pretty fun to use. I'm kind of just blabbering. It's kind of hard to talk and do this, so bear with me. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah, and also, so with like uploading, I've tried to upload good content, so sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to have like something worth uploading, because I know there's like a bajillion tutorials out there, and you know, I just want to make the whole like Summit series kind of cool stuff that you might not find other places. So let me know if the content is decent or if it's getting worse. That would be good to know too. Or if it's just stuff you're not interested in, because I'm trying to, like, you know, put videos up that people enjoy, obviously. So there we go. We have kind of tracked all of it off the screen, and I know that is where the hand initially came across the screen. So what we're going to do is grab this value down here and drop it into our endpoint for our hand control, or our hand layer. So that just means the spline's going to start at 140. So let me click back there, and what we're going to do is scrub forward on our timeline here and get to this first frame we set. So you can do this by clicking this button here, go to the next keyframe. And so let's go ahead and just let Mocha try to do some work here. So I'm gonna tighten this up just a touch, and we're going to track forward. So all I want to do is make sure I'm getting all the parts of the hand that is actually over the screen. It doesn't really matter about the stuff that's right down here, only the stuff that is, like I said, over the screen. And we're once again being really, really dirty with this. This is not the cool part of the video. That comes up after we get this boring stuff out of the way. So let's go ahead and just keep letting it track. Make sure any of the blurs stay inside of the spline, and we'll just keep this rolling. So it's doing a pretty good job. Maybe give a little bit more room here and tighten some stuff up, and just let it play forward. And that actually looks pretty good. So I'm gonna let it just go off the screen and stop it right there. It was close enough. So I'm just gonna grab this value, 212, and put it into our out point for our layer properties. And our hand is all set. So let's go ahead and click this icon right here. It's the gear icon, and that's basically saying we are good with our track and we don't want to do any more with our tracking, so it's kind of going to lock it. So as you can see, when we click this, this gets grayed out. So make sure that is unclicked, and we're now going to do the cool part of the video. So let's go ahead and click back to the beginning of our timeline and set up our real spline, because we're going to go and grab the screen now. So let's go ahead and get our spline tool again and just click roughly outside of the area we want to green screen. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead, click my right mouse button and just give a little bit more room here. I'm going to set the minimum pixels to 90% again, and this time I want to click the option that says perspective because we do have changing perspective. So it's just another thing Mocha will calculate for us. So now this is where it gets cool. Let's go ahead and turn on our planer. And what we're going to do is grab these corners, these blue corners, and all the colors you see. They're pretty easy to grab, even though it looks crazy. And we're going to align them to the corners of our green screen area. So when you click it, you're going to notice that a little window pops up in the top right up over here. And that's just a magnified view of where your cursor is. So let's go ahead and do our best to line it up. And you're going to see that the planar surface, or the purple grid, really captures what the scene is, which is cool. So we're going to use this to visualize as it's tracking and make sure that our data is staying good. So for really bad footage like this, I typically like to grab additional pixels or content to work with. So we're going to grab something very contrasty in the scene. Like right here, we have this mouse pad icon. So if you go and click this tool over here, we're going to add an X-spline to our pre-existing layer. So let's go ahead and just draw a rough little shape around that little icon there. And if you're using your own footage, just try to find something in the scene that is nice and contrasty like that. And that'll just give a little extra content or pixels for Mocha to work with. So let's go ahead and name this layer screen track. And now this is what is important. So since we're tracking this, this works very similar to how alpha mats and luma mats work inside After Effects. So what that means is that they have to be beneath the layer that we're going to be like alpha matting out, quote unquote, or masking out. So since we have the hand and we want to make sure it is not calculated in this, it needs to be above our screen track. So just make sure that is how your layer control panel is organized. And then this is where it gets cool. We're basically going to be able to click this track forward, and Mocha is going to do a really nice job in tracking this screen since we've taken out the data we don't want it to have. So let's go ahead and see how it does. There's really not too much to say right here. So while it's tracking, I'll probably end up speeding up the video. If I get an error or a bug or something, totally stop the video and we'll jump in and see what we have to do to fix it. So we got the 90% pixels and perspective mode turned on. Let's go ahead and see what we get. Okay, so we actually did have a little error in there that I totally didn't catch at first. It took me a second to actually think about it. And if I scroll back in the timeline, you're going to see that the mask or the spline that I put around my fingers actually did not stay on it for this portion. So when the screen came back up, it was not aligned. The surface wasn't aligned properly. So we're going to go ahead and actually fix this. I'm going to scrub back to where the problem started to happen, which was right about here. And let me go ahead and click into my hand remove and turn off this planar surface and the little planar grid thing. So let's go ahead and see what we have to do. I'm going to go ahead and click the gear again and just click this one off for a second. And now we're going to go ahead and fix this. So let's go and just tweak some of these little vertices for our spline and see what we're doing here. I'm going to actually go back and we're going to track forward for a second and just see how that goes. So it actually looks like it's doing better for some reason. I'm going to give it a little bit more room here and maybe a little bit more room here as well. And we'll just let it continue to track forward. Maybe a little bit bigger over here, and we'll just keep it going. And so that, I think, fixed our little bug area that we had. I might give it a little bit more room and let it continue to track forward, and it looks like that should do it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it. I'm going to lock the track layer again and then click back into our screen track. So now what we can do is actually just scrub back in time to when our problem started to happen, which was right around here, and I can just pick up tracking again. So I'm just going to click track forward and hopefully, actually I'm going to turn on the planar grid and planar surface so we can see what's going on. I'm going to track forward again and hopefully that has fixed the issue, and our fingers are totally blurred out for the entire portion of that section. So let's go ahead and see if when our surface comes back in here, if it is aligned a little bit better, because the first time was super janky. So let's go ahead and see, and it's already stayed way closer to this corner. Previously it really kind of floated up, and it's okay if it comes off it. It doesn't need to be perfect for this initial setup. We're going to do something called an adjust track to really get that aligned properly for when we take it into After Effects to composite. So I'm going to go ahead and let it finish, and then we will resume the video. Okay, so our track has finished, so let's go ahead and click our little gear icon saying we're good with our track so we don't accidentally click anything, and just hop forward to the beginning. So here at this option down here, there's a little toggle or a tab we can click. So let's go ahead and click it. And what we're going to do is now tweak our planar surface. So all these little red dots that you see are actually stuff will change. So when we click them, you can also click this little nudge tool down here to see where they're aligned. So this is jumping down to like the bottom right, and this is the bottom left for it. So these are the starting positions we're on, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and just play forward here and see how we're doing. So now let's go ahead and just click our top tool, and this is where we might want to zoom in a little bit if that works better. And I'm just going to really trying to get this to line up as perfect as I can. We're going to do it a little bit quick just for the sake of the video, and not making it too boring, and just align it as close as you can. And as you can see, it's like a second layer of adjustment over our planar surface. So let me go ahead and play forward and just readjust pretty much every couple frames. Sometimes if the change isn't significant enough, it won't set a keyframe, which is kind of nice, and something you don't really need to worry about, because I'll show you a couple little tricks in After Effects to get it to work perfect, whatever data we end up getting out of here. So I'm going to go ahead and play forward a little bit more. And as you can see, it did a pretty good job for as bad as this footage was. It's kind of impressive. And if you take the time to, shoot a better footage and like keep things in focus and maybe not shake as much as I did with so much blur, you have to just try it, because I'm always impressed with how well Mocha ends up doing. So I'm going to go ahead and just do my best to get these corners. And like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to go ahead and use like some motion blur and stuff to kind of hide it if it's not perfect. And we'll just play forward a little bit more. And so this is where it started to get a little bit bad. We're going to go ahead and fix it right there and fix it right here. So if you ever are dealing with not having all the points on the screen, you kind of have to do a little bit of guessing. So for this one, I'll just nudge it over a touch, and I just like to see if the lines roughly line up to the rest of the perspective. But it doesn't need to be perfect because the content's off the screen anyway. So there we go. I might see where we're at with this, and that actually looks pretty good. And check up in the top corner. So pretty much every video is going to be different with how much work you have to do in the adjust track module, but it's always worth going into and just tweaking it, because it'll really tighten up your track. So once again, we're going to use our zoom in and our mouse tool, a zoom in and our hand tool with Z and X, just to navigate around the viewport nice and easy. So I'm just going to align this. I think I did a horrible job getting the corner with that one. Something like that, and that's looking pretty good. I'll play forward a touch more, and let's see if we need to adjust anything. And honestly, as tedious as this looks, once you're doing it, and it's kind of fun. I mean, luckily it's like a fun little workspace and UI, so I always kind of feel like I'm in Tron or something. So I guess that works for me. I hope that think about that works for you. So it looks like we've ping-ponged backwards. We don't need to worry about that. So let's go ahead and just go to the end of the timeline and click save, so we have that data. So this is the next little step that's cool. So what we're going to do is click this option right down here under your layer controls, and so this is going to take our planar surface and like expand it to our entire screen size. And so it's going to look like it's really messed up, but I promise for the technique we're going to do, we want that to happen to our data. So let's go ahead and click this button, and you're going to notice that our planar surface doesn't really look like it's aligned, but don't worry about that. So we're going to go down and export some data to After Effects. So this is funny, kind of. So we're going to click Export Tracking Data, and you're going to have three options, and we want to do the After Effects corner pin, which supports motion blur. I think you default to transform data, which we don't want. So let's go ahead and make sure that option is selected, and we're just going to copy it to the clipboard, save your project one more time, and let's jump into After Effects and just set up our scene. So we're going to create a new composition here. I think it's good to look at like what the surfaces you're putting the content on. So for this case, my iPad is I think 10,010 by 660 or close, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And what this is going to do is give us a new composition. So let's name this content flat, because there's a couple steps to get it to line up perfect. So let's go ahead and do Command Y for a new solid, and I like to do a color that'll really stick out, so I'm going to do red, and we're going to go back into our final track and composite composition with our footage and drop this content flat onto the scene. So what we're going to do is roughly line it up to where your iPad is, or whatever you're tracking this to, and we're going to go up into our effects and presets and grab something called a corner pin. So drop this onto your composition, and we're going to grab, you have to make sure corner pin is selected in your effect controls, and you're going to have these little things in the corners of your comps or your composition, and we're going to go and just roughly line this up for right now to the corners of our screen so we can have that right perspective. So let's go ahead and do that, and that looks pretty decent. Don't worry about it for now. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to do Shift-Command-C to pre-compose again, and we're going to click the option Move All Attributes into the new composition, and also adjust the composition duration to the time span of the selected layers. So I'm going to rename this to Content Perspective. And the reason we are moving all the attributes like this corner pin to a new composition is so we have a composition that is the same size as the composition that the content is sitting in, as crazy as that sounds. I'm doing my best to explain. So what you'll notice is now we have our perspective grid lined up with this composition that's the same size. It's like the entire screen, similar to what we just did in Mocha with this planar surface. So now you might be seeing how this could work. So all you have to do is select your content perspective and make sure you are at 0 seconds in your timeline, or the first frame. It doesn't have to be 0 seconds if you're somewhere else, and do Command V. And what you're going to do is see that we get a corner pin effect, and also if you press U on your keyboard, a ton of keyframes. So what this has done is taken the corner pin data from Mocha and that surface and put it into our composition. So we're going to go ahead and press U, and now we're going to do something that's really, really fun. What we're going to do is click our content perspective and change our mode to difference or classic difference, whatever you want. And we're going to go and click our composition here and lock that window. And then we're going to go and click this little tag here, and it's going to open up a second composition, which is good. If you have it locked, it'll open up another one for you. So we're going to click our content here, which is our content perspective, and make sure corner pin is selected, and you're going to see we have our corner pins again. So what's cool about having these two compositions is you can like zoom in on this one and then zoom in on this one separately. They work individually. So since I'm zoomed in, I'm just going to grab this corner pin and kind of use it to drag it close to the corner. So that's nice to see like where our content is going in, even though it's a nested composition, and that's a nice trick for a ton of stuff if you've never done that. So let's go ahead and drag this other corner pin down. It's kind of nice to see the live update, like I said. And I put the mode to difference because we want to overlap the outside of our key or our green color just a little bit. So I like to use that to see the difference instead of just hope it lines up. So let's go ahead and just drag over to the corner. And it's kind of easy to guess, just like this, and that looks pretty good. And then we will just go ahead and click into the top one. So use your spacebar instead of H, like when we're in Mocha, and drag this over. That was way too far. Go down a little bit. And that's close enough for right now. So let's go ahead and close this composition. And I will just go ahead and drag this junk over there and unlock or click this little lock button again. So we are back to our normal view. So if you do shift forward bracket, it's going to align the composition to your whole screen size. And now you can see that we have some content on our iPad, quote unquote. Let's go ahead and switch our mode to normal and just play our timeline and see how it does. So even with this really rough and dirty setup, you're going to see that it's doing a pretty nice job. I could obviously go ahead and tweak that the corner pins a little bit more like what we just did, but I'm not sure we need to. If you want to, once again, you can click the lock button, click content perspective, and you're going to get a second composition. Click that, click your corner pin. It looks like it came off the top a little bit, so I will just adjust that up, and yeah, I'll call that good. I don't need to be too much with that, but you can really spend some time in it if you like and get it perfect. Make that not locked anymore, and zoom out, and let's just go ahead and play our composition. So now we have a flat piece of content that we have made into perspective, or properly picked a perspective, and then we've gone ahead and put that perspective in line with the perspective of our content for the scene. So now what we can do is go into our content that's flat and actually just imported a couple images. So I'm gonna drop these into our layer here, and if you do Shift Option Command H, that'll just align it to the width of your composition. So I'll do that for another picture here, and I'll do it for one more. So since, yeah, Mount Mograph, I went ahead and grabbed some mountains. So these are all aligned. Let's go ahead and press T for opacity, and I'm just gonna set a keyframe here. Go back in time and set it for two of them to 0. So something like that, and then I will just drag these keyframes forward. So we've essentially made a really bad little slideshow. As you can see, it's going to change. So this is just to show that you can put content or anything like that onto the screen. So if I click back into our final track and composite, there we go. We have our little slideshow that plays on our iPad. So one thing is, this doesn't really look, I mean, you know, if you really looked at it, you would know that this is just sitting on top of the surface. So if you go ahead and click content perspective, this is kind of where your compositing stuff comes in. Right click and go to layer styles and do something called an inner glow. We're going to use it for a non-traditional way. What we're going to do is click into our blend mode and switch it to normal. And we're going to switch our color to some darker color, and then just click your size and turn it up. And as you can see, we're going to add a little bit of inner shadow to it, so it kind of looks like it's sitting in something. And then maybe turn your opacity down. So this subtle little effect, if you click your eye next to that, is going to do is going to really start to help putting this content in the scene. So I might actually go with a slightly lighter gray color. That was a bit much, and maybe turn my size down as well. This takes a little bit to really get into the scene, but this is the first step. So remember, we went ahead and aligned it bigger than the size of our iPad, which is good. So now what we're going to do is key it into place. So let's go ahead and drop our content perspective beneath our bad footage, or whatever footage you shot. Go up into our effects and presets, and just type in key light. So you can use the typical key light, or you can use this preset that is key light, something spill suppressor, and something else like key cleaner, and drop that onto your layer. So you're going to get all three of these tools. I'm going to hide the key cleaner for a second, and let's go ahead and click this screen color and just grab that green content, and we're going to go and switch our key light view to the final result. So it didn't do too good of a job yet, but don't worry about that. Let's go ahead and see what we have to do. So if I go ahead and click the, what the heck, let's go ahead and, oh, I put this on the wrong layer. That makes sense. Sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and delete these and make sure bad footage is selected. I was wondering, I was like, I thought I did that right. And drop those three onto there. And once again, grab that green color in the middle and we're going to switch this to the final result. So as you can see, just with a quick little drop, we're going to go ahead and it's going to look like it's actually sitting in the iPad a little bit better because you can see the corners. So let's go ahead and turn off Key Cleaner for a second and just play around with the value. We want to really get all that nastiness in the middle of the screen at least fixed. So what I'm going to do is just turn it up. It's okay if the outside stuff gets a little bit noisy, not quite like that, but don't worry about the outside for right now. So let's go ahead and just turn it up so it really looks like it is in the screen. So for me, the value is about 148. I'm okay with. It's definitely hurt some of our footage, but we don't need to worry about it. We'll fix it, as you can see in like the mouse pad and the little color right there. Man, my words are gone. But let's go ahead and click on Advanced Spill Suppressor. And you're going to see that it has fixed some of the colors. And if we go ahead and click the Key Cleaner, it is actually not going to help. So let's not use that. Let's grab something called a simple choker, which we've used for a lot of other stuff, but this is what it's actually meant for. And we're going to drop this also on our layer. So let's just turn up our value really gentle. So I'm going to go with 2.4. And now I'm going to go back to my advanced spill suppressor and actually turn this down. Or actually, what happens if we just turn it off? So literally, it's just a slight variation in the colors, which we almost don't need to worry about. We'll be fixing that in a little bit as well. So maybe I should turn my screen gain down a touch. And it's kind of nice to be a little bit farther away so you can see how it's affecting everything in your scene. So I'm just going to turn this up to about 103. Actually looks pretty good. I'm all right with that. And now what we're going to do is duplicate this bad footage layer, Command D on your keyboard, and do Shift Command E to delete all the effects on our footage. So what we're going to do is grab an effect called Tint, and we are going to drop this onto our bad footage duplicate so it's black and white. And we're just going to drag this to the bottom of our all three of our layers. And what this is going to do is fill in some of those splotches that were on our original one. So if I turn it on and off, you're going to see that it helps to just bring some of the content back and kind of fix all those little missing pixels, which is pretty nice just to do real quick. So we can go ahead and spend some more time with this. If we go into our content flat, what we're going to do is make a new adjustment layer, and we can call this just digital stuff. And what we're going to do is grab a Venetian blind, which is typically a transition, but if you drop it onto your adjustment layer and turn up your transition to complete to like 3%, your direction will do 90, so it's vertical, and we're going to turn our width down. What we're going to do is kind of simulate having lines, like digital lines, which helps sell this effect. So just turn it down to an amount that you like. For me, it's something like that, 4%, and width of 5. And let's go ahead and make our red solid that's in the background. Actually, we don't need to do anything with that. Let's go ahead and also do something with box blur. So let's grab a box blur and drop it onto underneath our Venetian blinds and click this option, repeat edge pixels. And since our content is pretty blurry, the screen is almost too sharp. So even with those Venetian blinds that you can like subtly see in there, the little gradation, we're gonna go and make it a little bit blurry. So like 1.2, you want to be pretty gentle with it. That was a lot, maybe 0.8. So just soften up the image just a touch so it seems a little bit more digital. Go back into your composite, and that already is starting to look like it belongs on the screen. So one thing is like the colors seem too bright and don't really fit the scene. So we'll do a quick little color balance with, you guessed it, a tool called Color Balance. And we are going to drop this onto our content perspective. So this is where we can just tweak some of the colors. Just go forward. I like to hold Command when I do this, so it changes very small amounts at a time. I'm going to make it a little bit warmer here with the red, and yeah, I'm just going to guess a little bit. It's really whatever color you're going with. Maybe I'll zoom out to see how it fits the scene, something like that, and just start to tweak what we get. Yeah, let's just see what we get. So just play around, and you can start to get it to fit the scene. That's no good. And there we have it. So what you can do is also, so once we have this tracked, and I'm actually pretty happy with it, I'm gonna go ahead and press a little preview here. It's looking pretty good. We can go ahead and take this farther if you use those same techniques to really clean things up. But what's cool is we've taken this horrible footage and actually made it a little bit better and put some content on an iPad screen with a horrible slideshow. So I hope you guys learned something with this video. I had fun with it. I did my best to explain it, but I'm sure I had some mess ups along the way. So thanks for sticking with me. And yeah, I hope you had fun with it. One other thing you can actually do is scrub forward to when you have like a finger touching the screen or anything like that. And you can go ahead and lock this composition and click into your like content flat. And what you can do by using these two compositions is like start putting content on the screen exactly where your finger is. So as you can see, it's really easy to line it up and, you know, add some kind of animation or it's an easy way to sync your animation to movement that's happening in your like final composite like this. So now when I play forward, we're going to like have that scale up happen right when the touch happens. So I love splitting compositions like that. If you haven't done it, I recommend it. It is really, really helpful when you're doing a lot of compositing and you need to see a lot of pre-comps and nested comps and what. So anyway, I think I've talked too much. I'm sure you guys are sick of it. If you had fun with this video, I would love it if you would leave a like or a comment or anything at all. It means a lot. And yeah, keep rocking on. Internet high five. Peace out, guys.